Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Tech Tuesday. My name is Vanessa with ITS Communications, and today we are talking with Ali Belize about Beware the Ishings. You may have heard of phishing or vishing or smishing, many Ishings, but this month, October, is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We're so happy you're joining us. Ali is part of our RTS security team, and she has a ton of information about, um, you know, pretty common scams that are going around, like recent ones, maybe some that you haven't seen yet, that you should be on the lookout for. And of course, you're free to ask any questions that you may have about cybersecurity. Before we get started, I just wanted to let everyone know that I do have everyone's microphones on mute. That's just to prevent any unintended background noise. And we are recording today's session. So if you would like to watch this over again, if you miss anything, or share it with some colleagues who may not have been able to attend, we will be sending this out after the session as a link so you can take a look. We're also going to do a few little polls today that we hope are interesting. So, Ali, without further ado, I'm just going to hand it off to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that introduction, Vanessa. And I will share my screen real quick. You guys should be able to see a PowerPoint.
Yep, perfect.
Awesome. So, as Vanessa said, today we're going to be learning about all of the different ishings and ways that you can secure both your email, your social media, and all of your devices. And my name is Ali Belize. I'm with the security team here at Wall Cornell ITS, and I am the Security and Identity Management Services Manager. So I will dive right into it because we have a lot to go through today. So the agenda for today, I'll start off with why all of this is important, just because I feel like we throw a lot of information at you here in ITS about what to look out for, how to protect yourself, but we should also go over why all of this is important. And then I'll get into all of the different ishings from phishing to a new and rising tactic called quishing. I'll also go over AI specific scams just because AI is a super helpful tool, but it can also be helpful to hackers as it is helpful to us. And then I'll be talking about the importance of device compliance and why we have different policies here at Wall Cornell and what we see in the wild when device compliance isn't followed through. So, why is all of this important? CrowdStrike recently released their global threat report, and there were a few concerning trends. One of them is that in the latter half of 2024, phishing attacks skyrocketed 442%. So, phishing is a lot easier to carry out than phishing due to the fact that you don't really need a lot of technical knowledge, and people tend to trust when they think they're talking to a person over receiving an email. So, even if it's an auto-generated voice, you might be more trusting of it because you actually think you're interacting with a person. And we'll get into phishing a little bit later in the presentation, but this trend is definitely concerning. Another reason why you need to be careful with ishings and look into device compliance is because of e-crime breakout time. So the breakout time refers to when a bad actor gains access into an account or a system, how long it takes them to get to a high value asset. So if your account got compromised, how long it would take a bad actor to get to patient data or PHI or other PII about you. So the average time was reduced from 2023, the average time was 62 minutes. And in 2024, it was reduced to 48. So that is a pretty big reduction. And the fastest breakout that was observed was 51 seconds. So that means that the user or the security team of the organization only had 51 seconds to identify and stop the bad actor before they would be able to get to a high value asset. So it shows how quickly bad actors can move nowadays. So it's really important to make sure they don't gain that initial foothold into compromising your account or data. Another concerning trend that CrowdStrike reported on was 79% of detections in 2024 were malware free, which is up from 40% in 2019. Even though this is quite a few years apart, the fact that these detections were malware free means that bad actors were using other tactics to get into people's accounts and assets, more social engineering tactics where they don't need you to click a link or download something. They need you to just provide them with information, which is a little scarier because there's less action involved. And in 2024, 52% of observed vulnerabilities were linked to initial access. So this is another reason why device compliance is key. because keeping your device compliant reduces the likelihood that a vulnerability will be exploited. So 52% of vulnerabilities observed by CrowdStrike were related to initial access. So that means that a bad actor used a vulnerability in order to get into a system. So by keeping your device up to date, it's much less likely that this would happen. So now getting into all of the different phishing. So I think people are pretty familiar with phishing, but just to go over phishing emails again, because they're still out there, they can still get you. Phishing emails contain three main elements: a call to action. In order for a phishing email to be successful, the scammer needs you to do something, whether that be downloading a file, clicking a link, replying with information, or contacting someone else. And they typically use emotion or urgency in order to get you to act quickly without thinking. Sometimes they use good emotions like curiosity or compassion, and sometimes they use bad emotions like fear. For example, if they say your password was compromised, you must change it within the next 5 minutes, or your account will be locked, or something along those lines. And every single phishing email has malicious intent. So I know sometimes we receive spam emails, which, although annoying, they're not normally intended to harm you. All phishing emails are. They're intended to take something from you or compromise your system or get something that the bad actor should not have access to. And there are two other types of phishing attempts that are a little bit more specific and definitely something to look out for. So, spear phishing targets a specific individual or a specific group of people, and these emails tend to be a lot more personalized. So, some phishing emails you get are just broadcast to a wide audience trying to see who they can get. But spear phishing focuses on maybe a certain company or people who purchased something from Amazon recently. It takes a certain group and tailors the email to that group to make it more believable and make them more likely to fall for the phishing attempt. And another, even more intense form of spear phishing is called whaling. So this is spear phishing that goes after high-level executives such as CEOs or CIOs. And these emails are very personalized. Typically, the bad actor would even look at things like their LinkedIn profile, social media, to try to get any personal information they can about the victim in order to include it in the email and make it seem more legitimate. So some phishing emails are very easy to detect. This one here, Google even identified it as junk before the user could even take any action on it. So most of us would not receive emails from Mark Zuckerberg, and this email promises a huge reward for little to no effort. So there's a lot of different ways that you could figure out that this was phishing, whether it be the person it's from, the language. There's not really a lot of grammatical and spelling errors, but also to just the language behind it. Would you expect Mark Zuckerberg to talk like this? Would you expect Mark Zuckerberg to email you? So there's a lot, excuse me, there's a lot of different reasons why you could identify this as a phishing email. But phishing emails are getting a lot more sophisticated, and some of them are a lot more difficult to identify. So this is a phishing email that I got, and it looks legitimate. It looks branded. It does say that you could get a reward as part of our loyalty program. You can now extend for 90 days for free, but it's not such a large reward that you would be suspicious. It seems like a normal marketing technique. And really, the only two things that clued me in as to why this was a phishing email was the email address here, the from ACAOYY. Obviously, that's not Paramount Plus his email address. Bad actors can spoof emails, though, so this isn't always a technique that will work 100% of the time. But looking at the email address right away, if the email address looks sketchy, it's most likely a phish. And also to the context of the email. I have two different personal email accounts, and they sent this email to the account that I am not subscribed for Paramount Plus from. So before I even took any action, I had to think, wait, this is going to my email that's not associated with Paramount Plus. This doesn't make any sense. So this is a pretty sophisticated phishing attempt, and you definitely need to pay close attention in order to find out that it is a phishing email and not just automatically react to it. So, like I said before, phishing emails are getting a lot more sophisticated, and one big reason for this is AI. So, AI is incredibly helpful, but it can also help bad actors. So, the availability of AI spans a broad spectrum, and there are even AI generated copies of free hacker tools like Worm GPT, which is a dark version of the OpenAI tool, or there's a paid counterpart to it for bad actors called Fraud GPT. And these are generative AI tools without the safeguard. So you can ask it anything, you can have it do anything, which creating phishing attempts is something you could use it for. You could even use some of the mainstream AIs like Copilot and ChatGPT to create phishing attempts. It will tell you no at first if you just say, create me a phishing attempt. However, if you say, oh, create me a phishing attempt for research or for a story I'm doing, it's really easy to get past the safeguards in some of these generative AIs. So IBM looked into AI generated phishing attempts and they came up with four pillars of the AI phishing attempts. So the first is data analysis. The attacker uses algorithms and tools like WormGPT to scour the internet for vast amounts of data on a target group or a target individual. This includes social media profiles, public records, and online activities. Then WormGPT can analyze this data to understand the target's preferences and behaviors. The second pillar is personalization. So after this data is collected, the AI comes up with highly personalized phishing emails. So these may include specific hobbies. For example, if on Facebook you like a bunch of pages about hiking, the personalized email might have something to do with hiking. And then this level of personalization makes the emails appear more legitimate and increases the likelihood of the victim falling for the scam. The third pillar is content creation. So the AI is used to generate a convincing email that mimics the language and writing style of the target's known contacts or institutions. So the AI might scour the internet for emails from Weill Cornell Medicine and maybe mimic the same language that Weill Cornell Medicine uses when we send out emails to users. And the last pillar is scale and automation. So AI makes it easy for attackers to scale their operations efficiently. So, like I said before, with bad actors looking for things on the internet about you and whaling and spear phishing, the AI generated phishing attempts make it a lot easier to scale some of these personalized emails as opposed to having to sit down and write the emails for different target groups and then send them out. So IBM's engineers actually tried to compete against AI to see who could make a better phishing attempt. And what took IBM engineers 16 hours took AI 5 minutes. So IBM actually came up with their 5 for 5 rule when it came to AI phishing attempts. So the 5 prompts that you would need to come up with a phishing attempt would be come up with a list of concerns for a specific group in a specific industry. So you could use concerns for people at Weill Cornell. Maybe for a researcher, a concern could be how to store data in a protective way, in a secure way, or just something else to do with Weill Cornell, or if you're part of specific groups on Facebook or specific places that you have accounts to, like Amazon, what could be a specific concern for users that fall into those target groups. And then you would ask the AI to write an email leveraging social engineering techniques, apply common marketing techniques to the email. And then the last 2 prompts you would need would be who should we send the email to and who should we say the email is from? So they might look into, again, if you like hiking and you have that on your social media profile, they might send it from Land's End or some sort of hiking company and pretend that that's who the email is from in order to make it seem more like an email that you would receive. So AI makes it incredibly easy to scale these phishing attempts, and typically things that we've used in the past, like looking at spelling and grammar, AI can get rid of that for you. It can just look at the language barriers and grammar and make sure that all of these phishing attempts look legitimate. So right here is an example of an AI generated phishing attempt. So if you receive this email, it would put in the name. So it would say, Dear your name. So you couldn't look at that as a flag. And it would say, best regards, your company support team. So they could use AI to maybe send it out to Weill Cornell users and write best regards, Weill Cornell support team. They could send it to NYP users, best regards, NYP support team. And then if you click the link, it would take you to a page that shows over here on the right, the password reset. So this email is no spelling mistakes, no grammar mistakes. It does play on emotion a little bit with your password being compromised, but there's no outward threat, so it's a little bit more difficult to identify it as a phishing email. This took 20 seconds to generate with ChatGPT. So the speed that AI can create phishing attempts really, really helps bad actors not only create phishing attempts quickly, but be able to personalize them a lot better and take less time to personalize them. Because in the past, phishing attempts have just been sent out to get to a broad audience, where now they can be more specific more quickly. So what can you do to protect yourself from email phishing? Pay close attention to the different parts of the email, the sender details, the subject, etc. And with any email here at Weill Cornell that has the informational external sender tag, you should be careful if you weren't expecting the email, and be careful with external emails in general. As always, be wary of emails that promise rewards for little to no effort or seem too good to be true. And evaluate if the tone and language of the email match what you would expect from the sender. So when you look at the sender, think who sent this email and why am I receiving it? If it doesn't really make sense, it could be a phishing attempt. And is the sender using a free email address? Again, bad actors can spoof email addresses, but off the bat, if you see an email address that looks sketchy, it could be a phishing attempt. Also think about the context of the email. So what's the purpose of this email? What does it contain? Is the greeting generic? And make sure you hover over any links before you click them to see where they're actually taking you to. And here at Wall Cornell, if you see any emails that you believe to be phishing, you can report them using our report phishing button or forward them as an attachment to spam at med. And don't click any of the links or open any attachments from these emails until you receive a confirmation that it's safe. So another type of vishing to be on the lookout for is vishing. So it targets users over phone calls. And similar to email phishing, bad actors can spoof the ID and caller name and area codes through voice over internet protocol or VoIP. So VoIP is a technology that allows you to make voice calls using a broadband internet connection instead of a regular analog phone line. And VoIP easily allows caller ID to be spoofed, which can take advantage of people's trust in the security of phone services, especially landline services. Landline communication cannot be intercepted without physical access, but this trait is not beneficial when communicating directly with a malicious actor. So hackers typically try to pose as someone that you would trust, like the government or a friend or a family member or colleague, similar to email phishing. And you're also asked to provide personal information or perform an action. So they might ask you for a PIN number to confirm your bank transfer. They might ask you for your social security number and things like that. So unlike phishing, you must actively disclose information for the attack to be successful. So it's not like clicking a link or downloading something. You actively must say something to the bad actor that they need. For example, your bank PIN or your social security number. And oftentimes users need or attackers need to call users manually and individually. This will probably change as AI gets better and better. And there are forms of phishing like robocalling, which I'll get into in a little bit, which can call a number of people very quickly. And since less technology is involved, less hacking or IT knowledge is needed to perform these attacks, which makes it a lot easier for anyone to become a visher than it is a fisher. And vishing can be more effective than phishing because people tend to trust when they're hearing a voice and they think it's a real person that they're talking to. And also, too, voice can express more emotion that you don't get over links and text that can make you feel for the bad actor or can kind of play on your emotions differently than phishing. So there are a few different types of phishing. The first one being hybrid phishing. So this method is combined with email phishing, and the hacker will send you a message via email and then also call you with the same message. So a lot of times people believe the message is urgent since they're receiving it in two different medias. And people are normally suspicious if they receive just an email phishing attempt or just a phishing attempt, but receiving both together, sometimes people falsely assume that it's more legitimate. So callback phishing is similar to hybrid phishing, and it's sometimes referred to as telephone-oriented attack delivery, or TOAD. And it's a social engineering attack that requires a threat actor to interact with the target to accomplish their objectives. So this attack style is more resource intensive, but less complex than script-based attacks. So you don't have to be as technical to carry out one of these attacks. And this is similar to hybrid phishing in that you would receive an email asking you to call a number. And then when you call the number, it's the bad actor. Typically, people let their guard down a little bit because they think since they're the ones making the choice to call the number, it's less likely to be a scam. And the third type of phishing to be aware of is robocalling. So similar to what I said before about bad actors needing to call people manually, robocalling gets rid of that. So hackers use a recorded urgent or threatening message that they can send to multiple recipients. And they typically use a spoof caller ID to pose as the government or a bank. And then they ask you to call them back at a different number. And if you call the different number, you're connected with the bad actor. So these are a little less personalized because they have to be recorded. But then if you call back to the number that they're asking you to, you come in contact with a visher who can make the attack a little bit more personalized and know a little bit more about you. And last but not least is spear phishing. It's very similar to spear phishing that these are targeted phishing attempts on specific individuals or groups of people. So one phishing campaign that was carried out during COVID was a VPN scam. So bad actors would look on LinkedIn, see who moved jobs recently or who started a new job, and then pose as their IT support, telling them that they need to help get them set up on VPN. So then they would call the user, have them either download software or provide information, and that's how they would carry out their attack. So there's a few different common themes that we see in phishing schemes. The first being bank impersonation, and typically the bad actor will pretend to be an employee of your bank, and they frequently use a spoofed ID that shows as your bank's phone number. So even if it looks like your bank is calling you, it might not be your bank. They then claim that your account is at risk, or someone was trying to draw money from an ATM, or one of your transactions didn't go through, or various other reasons your bank would call you. And they typically ask you to provide your bank account, your PIN, your social security number, or any other personal information, or they even ask you to transfer funds into a safe account to prevent your account from being locked. And with this theme, we see bad actors use hybrid phishing or callback phishing very frequently to carry this out. So they might also contact you via email in order to carry out the scam. Romance scams is another common form of phishing, and some of you may have seen the Tinder swindler, and this is a romance scam that was carried out not as much through phishing, but a little bit. So people create fake dating profiles, and then they talk to their victims over the phone. And since the victim is talking to someone over the phone, they believe them to be more legitimate, even if it's not who they say they are. And then the bad actor will promise the person, acts of love and service as long as they get paid, or the target acquires them gifts and things like that. Another common theme that we see are loan or investment offers. So sometimes scammers will call their victims with loan and investment offers, quick fixes to pay off debts, and get rich quick schemes. And they push their victims for urgent action because the deal can only last so long. So they try to make people quickly jump onto the scam because the scam, or what they call a good opportunity, will go away very quickly. And one of the last scams that we see are Medicare Social Security scams. So these are on the rise during Medicare enrollment season as well. And typically the bad actor will call the victim and ask for the Medicare number, and then they'll transfer the Medicare benefits to themselves, or ask for the Social Security number and use the Social Security number to steal the victim's identity or perpetuate more scams. So there's a few different ways you can protect yourself from phishing. Ignore phone calls from unfamiliar numbers. Let the call go to voicemail, listen to the message, and then determine whether or not it's necessary to call back. Oftentimes, excuse me, if a visher calls you and you don't pick up, they might just move on to the next victim, where someone who's legitimately trying to get in contact with you will leave a voicemail. And also, too, if a visher does leave you a voicemail, you can listen to it a few times and pick out any parts of it that might not make any sense. And remember that hackers can spoof numbers. So even if the call looks like it's someone from your area code, it may not be. And if you're on a call that you suspect is phishing, just hang up and block the number. Also, if you get in contact with a call that you believe is phishing, avoid pressing any keys or providing any voice responses, especially in the affirmative, because they might be able to record your voice saying yes and use that later if they're trying to steal your identity and call your bank, or maybe call family members and friends pretending to be you. As an email phishing, pay close attention to the language during the call. If they're asking you to act urgently, be careful. If they're asking you for a password or other personal information, be careful as well. Most legitimate telemarketing firms avoid contacting any numbers on the do not call registry. So you can enroll yourself there as well, because if you get a telemarketing call and you're in the do not call registry, most likely it's from a visher. Never provide your phone number in emails or messages that request it. Always contact your bank or any organization that reaches out to you through supported channels instead of responding to emails or phone calls. And also protect your phone number like you'd protect your sensitive information. So don't give your phone number out unless you need to. And scammers will try to tap into your sense of fear using threats of arrest warrants and other consequences. So be aware that every process takes time, even with authorities and agencies. So if you get a call from the IRS saying that if you don't transfer money tomorrow, you're going to get arrested, it's a phishing attempt. Another one of the Ishings to be aware of is smishing. So smishing targets users via SMS text messaging. So SMS stands for short messaging service, and it's a popular text-based messaging service standard which nearly all cell phones support. So the biggest problem from a security perspective is that an SMS sender is not authenticated beyond attached phone numbers. So anyone receiving an SMS can only, at best, be assured the phone number the SMS message is coming from is accurate. And even that's not guaranteed. There are a lot of rogue applications that can also spoof SMS messages or use borrowed or shared phone numbers. So it's still good to be on the lookout when you're receiving a text, even if it looks like a number you might know or a number that's legitimate, to still be careful. And typically, smishing scams include a link that they want you to click or they want you to reply with personal information. The URL that you click in the smishing attempt may lead you to download malware or to a malicious site. And typically, with smishing attempts, hackers try to impersonate large organizations that users trust, such as UPS, FedEx, Google, the IRS, Wells Fargo, Amazon, and PayPal. So similar to phishing, there's a few common smishing schemes that we see. So IRS scam or similar messages from the government. The hacker pretends to be the IRS and asks you to confirm information or that you owe more money to the IRS or that there's money you're owed that you need to get back. There's also a fake order invoice scam. So the hacker will send you a tracking number or an update on your order or claim something's wrong with your payment or your order and ask you to click a link or reply with information. And they also take it a step further with series of fake SMS order messages. So you might receive messages that say, hey, you submitted order X, Y, and Z. Hey, order X, Y, and Z is on the way. Hey, order X, Y, and Z will get to you tomorrow. Hey, order X, Y, and Z is actually delayed in shipping or needs an additional payment. So by sending a series of these fake messages, it appears more legitimate. You also might get an SMS phishing attempt from a fake Google or Apple verification. So it might send you a code and it might ask you to input that code. And also, too, we're even seeing bad actors using that in order to get people to call. That they would send you, oh, in order to log into Google, type in this code. If this wasn't you, please call this number. And then the number that you call, or if you respond back, it's the bad actor. Fake payroll banking update is another common smishing scheme we see. So they claim that you need to log into your account to update payment information or reply with your bank number to confirm it. And they typically threaten that by not doing so, you will not receive your payment or have access to your account. And some other smishing schemes that we've seen recently have been job scams, getting a message from someone who pretends to be a recruiter saying, oh, we came across your profile and you can make $100 an hour remotely doing basically nothing. So we've seen those scams on the rise as well, in addition to the New York toll services or whatever state you live in toll services scam saying that you have an outstanding unpaid toll and you need to click here to pay your toll as quickly as possible. So how to protect yourself from smishing. Don't send credit card numbers, ATM pins, or banking information to people in text messages. And also in phishing, avoid responding to a phone number that you don't recognize. And you can report smishing to your wireless provider, the FCC, or the FTC. And you can typically send any suspicious or spam messages to 7726, which spells spam, to report it to your provider. And use the same tactics as in phishing and phishing. Look at the language, look at the urgency, see who it's coming from, see what it's asking you to do, and evaluate whether or not any of that seems a little bit off. Also, don't click any links or respond to any contact information in the text. So if you get a text from one number telling you to call a different number, that's definitely suspicious. It could very likely be a smishing attempt. Messages received from a number with only a few digits probably came from an email address, so that's also a sign of spam. Odd looking phone numbers, such as 4-digit ones, can be evidence of email to text services. So this might be a tactic a scammer is using to mask their actual number. Also, on top of being vigilant, use multi-factor authentication. So even if someone gets your password, having MFA could make having your password useless because they don't have your MFA authenticator. So multi-factor's most common variant is two-factor authentication, which often uses text messages, which bad actors can pretend to be, but if it's a legitimate text, then you'll be able to input the correct number into the multi-factor. Or some have apps like Duo that we have here at Wall Cornell or the Google Authenticator app. You could also download an anti-malware app, keep your operating system up to date, and set up a spam filter on your phone. Some Androids don't have filtering, so you can't see a spam protection option on your phone. You might need to download a specific app in order to do spam management, such as Nomorobo or RoboKiller. The next one of the Ishings to be aware of, which is definitely on the rise, is quishing. So it's QR code phishing, and it utilizes QR codes in order to take you to a malicious link or accidentally download malware. So a QR code is short for quick response code, and it's a square barcode like image, and it does serve a number of legitimate purposes. For example, if you've ever dined out, post-COVID, you've probably seen QR codes used as menus. So QR codes can be used for a lot of legitimate purposes, but bad actors have definitely started to take advantage of them, given that it's very easy to generate QR codes and you could just post them anywhere that you'd like. So you could post them over a parking meter. You could just post them pretending to be a local flyer. And typically, bad actors post them in high traffic locations, or they can even be sent via email or text. Once you scan the QR code, it takes you to a malicious website where you may be lured into providing personal or financial information. And then scammers often attempt to disguise themselves as a government agency, bank, or any other company to lend legitimacy to their claims. And the FCC has issued a warning about growing QR code use or QR code abuse. So, a study performed by cybersecurity platform KeepNet Labs found that 26% of all malicious links are now sent via QR code. So, that's definitely an uptick. And according to a cybersecurity company called NordVPN, 73% of Americans scan QR codes without verification. So without checking if the QR code's legitimate, asking where it came from, or anything like that. So there's a few common phishing schemes that we see in the wild. And like I said before, it's become common because people tend to impulsively scan QR codes. Anyone can create them, and it's difficult to tell what a QR code will prompt you to do until you scan it. So a lot of common schemes that we see are on public payment machines, typically parking lots, city bikes, and parking meters. I know in New York City there was a recent warning about different parking meters having QR codes posted that weren't legitimate. Restaurants too. Outdoor dining, if there's a QR code for the menu, a bad actor could easily just put their QR code over it or throw their QR code on the table. In unsolicited package deliveries. So if you get a package that you weren't expecting and there's a QR code to scan to either thank the person who sent it or to get a coupon for your next order, definitely be wary because that could be a phishing attempt. Like I said before, public flyers and posters too. People can post QR codes wherever they'd like. And in phishing emails and text messages. So you could get sent a QR code over email or over text. And one thing that makes that difficult is if someone sends you a QR code to your Wall Cornell account, you might scan it on your personal device where there could be less security policies in place due to the fact that it's not managed by the organization. Social media too, someone could post a QR code on Instagram asking you to scan to get something for free or some sort of coupon, and in cryptocurrency related solicitation messages. So scanning a QR code to download a crypto app or to transfer crypto. So how to protect yourself from phishing. Verify QR codes with the source. So if you are dining, ask the restaurant if their menu is on a QR code. If you get an email from someone sending you a QR code for a coupon, or if you get a package from someone claiming to be Amazon that you won something or sent you a free package, and you just need to scan a QR code to thank them, contact Amazon or whoever through supported channels to make sure it's legitimate. Also, use the same tactics as phishing. Think about the context. Why are you getting sent the QR code? Who's sending it? Is it promising some huge reward for doing little to nothing? And also preview the URL before clicking on it. It's a little difficult because URLs tend to be shortened when you preview them from a QR code, but still try your best to look at the link and see if it makes sense. You can also report phishing if you get any of these unsuspected packages to the USPS through spam@uspis.gov. So another type of phishing to be aware of is social media and instant messaging phishing. So hackers also use apps to carry out phishing attacks like WhatsApp, Facebook, and LinkedIn. It's similar tactics to other forms of phishing, but sometimes people tend to believe them a little bit more because they might even create accounts impersonating your family members or brands that you follow. So in the picture on the far right here with the photo underscore 9166, this was a campaign that was carried out over Facebook a few years ago. So several users received messages in their messenger account from other users already familiar to them. So the bad actor compromised one of their friends. So it was one of their friends' legitimate accounts, but it was a bad actor using it. And the message consisted of a single scalable vector graphic image file, which bypassed Facebook's file extensions filter. So users who clicked the file to open it were redirected to a spoofed YouTube page. And in order to watch this YouTube video, users were prompted to install two Chrome extensions. And for most users, the two Chrome extensions were used to allow malware to a limited degree of self-propagation by exploiting the browser's access to your Facebook account. So it would secretly message all of your Facebook friends as well, sending the scam along. However, on some people's PCs, the embedded JavaScript also downloaded and launched a Trojan downloader with a long history of pulling down a wide variety of malicious payloads on compromised PCs. So definitely be careful if your friends are sending you photos or videos that normally don't, or their language isn't consistent with how they normally talk to you, or if they don't normally talk to you on social media, don't engage. I had someone actually create a fake profile of my dad, and whoever the bad actor was just saw that I was friends with my dad and didn't realize that it was my dad. So when they messaged me, they said like, "Hello, how are you today?" And that's not how my dad talks to me. So I was able to know immediately that it was a bad actor, and he was able to get his account back. So definitely make sure that when you're engaging with someone on social media, the language and how they talk makes sense for how they normally talk to you and if they normally talk to you on social media. Another scam that can be carried out through social media to be aware of is support scams. So, angler phishing. Angler phishing is when attackers imitate a customer service agent on social media. They reach out to disgruntled users requesting their personal information to give them a refund. So, in the example on the right, someone complained to PayPal about an issue they were having, and then a bad actor had created an account pretending to be PayPal, so it wasn't PayPal's legitimate account, saying, "Hi, we apologize for this. In order to get your account back, please click this link," which was a malicious link. So hackers use all forms of phishing, vishing, and smishing to pose as customer support. So if you complain on social media or if you complain on social media about a bad experience that you had with a brand, and then you receive an email or a call or a text message from someone pretending to be that company, definitely be wary because they might not actually be from the company. So support scams aren't typically carried out through social media, but they can also be something you could fall victim to as well. So these scams typically, instead of pretending to be customer support, they pretend to be IT support. So you might receive an email or a text saying that your device is compromised and you must call Wall Cornell ITS at this number, or must email Wall Cornell ITS at this number, or must join the Zoom in order to meet with Wall Cornell ITS to go over something. And they typically try to get you to download screen sharing software and provide personal information. Wall Cornell ITS will never ask you for your password over the phone or over email or over text. So do not provide your password to anyone who's pretending to be Wall Cornell ITS. And if you ever are on a call with IT support and you doubt that they're actually legitimate, just disengage. So that was all the Ishings. And like I mentioned before, AI is being used to carry out much more believable email phishing scams. But there are also scams that AI is being used that are specific to AI. So one of those is deepfakes. So deepfakes are synthetic media that are manipulated by artificial intelligence in hard to detect ways. So the underlying technology for deepfakes, like machine learning, has been around for a while, but the term deepfake was coined in 2017 on Reddit. And after that, some high-profile deepfakes began to surface, along with some major concerns like misinformation, political manipulation, and unethical use in creating non-consensual videos of people using AI. So deepfake technology is a combination of two algorithms, generators and discriminators. Generators take the initial data set to create or generate new images based on the data gathered from the initial set. Then the discriminator evaluates the content for realism and feeds its findings back into the generator for further refinement. The combination of these algorithms is called generative adversarial networks, or GANs, and they learn from one another by refining out inputs and outputs so that the discriminator can't tell the difference between a real image, a sound clip, or video, and one created by a generator. So deepfakes typically mimic public or famous figures, but sometimes they could be used to mimic people that you know, to if you're the target of a deepfake that's specific to you or people who know the person that is in the deepfake. So the technology used to make deepfakes has improved a great deal since its inception. So when AI first came out, it was very easy to tell what was an AI generated image and what wasn't. And nowadays, that's getting a lot harder. So some common things you can use to spot a deep fake are looking at the facial features. So if there's a natural eye movement, weird facial expressions, or weird body movement and coloring. Hair and teeth don't always look real in deep fakes as well. And sometimes in deep fakes, there's awkward looking body, posture, or face featuring positioning. Blurring or misalignment is another way you could spot a deep fake. Sometimes AI generated images tend to have kind of a Photoshoppy appearance, so they're blurred or misaligned a little bit. Consistency of shadows and lighting is another way that can help you spot a deep fake. And looking at electronic sheen on the subject is also another common factor of deep fakes. If you're watching a deep fake video, inconsistent audio and noise, and also always check where images and videos are coming from. If a video or image is just circulating on social media and you don't know the source, it could be a deep fake. So now we are going to take a little poll like Vanessa mentioned earlier. So this image here, I want you guys to tell me whether you think this image is AI or if it's real.
There should be a poll on everybody's screen, or you can make a decision about whether you feel it's real or AI.
Yes, I see it on my screen.
Perfect. I think almost everyone has answered. I'll give it a couple more seconds so I know Allie's got a couple more of these. All right. Give it 5 more seconds. Okay, I'm gonna end the poll and I'll share the results. But Allie, what is the answer?
So it is AI. One of the most telling things is if you look at the arms and the hands of the children in the picture. For example, the girl closest to the screen, her fingers look kind of weird there. There's another girl too in a blue shirt. Her arm is kind of at a weird angle. So even though AI has gotten a lot better at creating images of people, it still struggles sometimes with hands and arms. So another little quiz for you guys. This image here, is this real or AI?
All right, the poll should be on everyone's screen. Got that one a few more seconds. Oh, okay, let's end this one.
All right. So this one was a tough one. This one is actually real. Some of the photo looks enhanced, probably through something like Photoshop, like the color of the leaves looks very enhanced, but this is real. The leaves have detail on them, which AI sometimes struggles with details of things like foliage, and it has the correct lighting and shadows too within the water. But this one was a tough one. There's another one for you guys. So this little guy here, is he real or is he AI?
Let's do a few more seconds. Okay.
All right. So those of you who said AI were correct. If you notice the detail on here, there is a little bit of blurring. His eyes also look a little bit odd, and the proportions too. Like his arm in the front looks very, very large. So though this one was also a tough one, but there's a few little tiny ways to tell that it's AI. And then I have one more for you guys, and then and then I have a fifth one that will actually be a comparison. So here's the last one of these.
Oh, we're almost half and half with this one. Oh, it moved a little bit.
This one might be the toughest one.
All right, a few more seconds and we're ending it.
All
Okay.
right, so this one's actually AI, and again, this is a very, very difficult one. Even though some of the hands are blurred just because of age, I think the AI did a good job of trying to imitate that. You can see the one person, the second person from the left there, has two arms, which again, AI struggles with digits and with arms. So this one was a very tough one, and AI did a good job of making it look not too perfect, but this one was still an AI generated image. All right, so the last one I have here for you guys, I'm going to show you two different pictures, and I want you guys to tell me which one's real and which one's AI. So oh, they're both of the Northern Lights. So here's picture number one, and here's picture number two. As Vanessa starts the poll, I'll flip back and forth. So picture number one, picture number two.
That one's pretty tough, actually.
It is. AI is getting really good at this.
All right, just a few more seconds. I'm gonna end this one. Okay. Which one is it, Allie?
All right. So you guys were pretty good at this. Picture number two was the real one. So in the AI generated image, you can see there's like a wrinkled texture, and they have additional colors in the reflection. However, the reflection of the real one has the actual colors in the sky. So you can see down there in the AI generated one, they have some reds in there where that's not really prominent in the image up top. So looking at things like shadows, reflections can help you detect whether or not an image is real or AI. All right. So, how to protect yourself from deep fakes. So, limit how many pictures and videos of yourself and your loved ones that you have on social media. Making your social media private is huge, not just for deep fakes, but also protecting yourself from personalized phishing attempts and just having people who shouldn't have access to your information have access. Also, have your family members use a code word to identify themselves during emergencies. So, work with your family members to have a code word that if they ever call you, you can ask them for the code word and they can provide it to you. And if they don't provide it, it's a bad actor or a deep fake. Since 2019, 47 states have enacted laws addressing deepfakes. The three states that don't have these laws are Alaska, Missouri, and Ohio. But if you live in the other 47 states, you do have rights if any deepfakes about you or one of your loved ones are created. So definitely be familiar with the laws in your state around deepfakes. The states with the most deepfake laws are California with 18, Texas with 10, New York with 8, and Utah also with 8. So, aside from the Ishings, keeping your devices up to date is another way to protect yourself from bad actors. So, here at Wall Cornell, we have a few minimum security requirements for devices. One is using a modern operating system that regularly receives security updates from the manufacturer, which ties into our second requirement that is receiving security updates from the manufacturer. Also, whole disk encryption must be enabled if the device will be used to store high risk data, and an endpoint detection response software or antivirus must be installed, enabled, and regularly updated. The host-based firewall must be installed, enabled, and configured to block unnecessary connections, and you must use a unique account with a strong password to log into your device. So getting into what each of these mean a little bit more. So operating systems. An operating system, or OS, is the foundational software that manages a computer's hardware and software resources. It acts as the bridge between the user and the machine. So why is having your OS up to date important? So improve security and security compliance. One of the most valuable benefits is improved security. Once an OS reaches end of life, there's no longer security updates to protect your system, and it leaves it susceptible to emerging cyber threats and exploits. Upgrading ensures that your system remains protected against malware, ransomware, and other cyber attacks. And depending on industry regulations, using an unsupported operating system may result in non-compliance, leading to potential legal and financial ramifications. It also enhances performance. Newest versions of an OS are more stable and more efficient and reliable because they're based on years of feedback from users, and they lead to fewer errors and performance degradation. Also, having a modern OS gives you access to new features and better user experience. So, new features will allow you to perform better and enhance your productivity, and new OS versions make significant impacts on your daily operations. It also avoids increased hardware costs. When end of life dates come up, manufacturers tend to increase the price for new hardware by 20% due to supply and demand. So, if you get new hardware earlier, you're more likely to pay a cheaper price for them. It also future-proofs your system. So new OSs are designed to fit and integrate with the best and latest technologies and systems. So staying up to date allows you to take advantage of these innovations and keeps you at the forefront of technological advancement. So keeping security updates installed. So having patches and updates is really important for device compliance. So the difference between patches and updates is software patches are small updates released by software developers to fix specific issues or vulnerabilities in a program. So they typically are designed to address bugs, security flaws, or other issues that have been identified. Whereas updates are broader and more extensive, and they're released periodically to improve the overall functionality. So updates can include changes such as bug fixes, performance enhancements, security improvements, and they also introduce new features and provide a better user experience. And unlike patches, software updates often involve significant modifications to the program. So why are both of these important? They're important because they close loopholes that hackers could exploit. And unpatched systems are prime targets for malware, ransomware, and data breaches. For example, the WannaCry ransomware um, campaign exploited a vulnerability in Windows that had a patch available, and many victims simply hadn't installed it. Patches and updates also have bug repairs and fixes. So software bugs can cause crashes, glitches, or incorrect behavior. And patches correct these issues to keep systems running smoothly. They also have performance enhancements. So updates often include optimizations that make software faster, more efficient, or less resource intensive. Um, Compatibility, as technology evolves, updating your software ensures that your software can work with the newest hardware, operating systems, and other applications. Compliance and legal requirements are also a big one. So lots of industries require systems to be patched to meet cybersecurity regulations, and one of those is HIPAA. So here at Weill Cornell, having patches and updates installed in a timely manner is incredibly important. Last but not least, patches and updates prevent exploits. So even if a vulnerability hasn't been exploited yet, patching prevents attackers from weaponizing it in the future. So patches are kind of like your digital immune system. Before you have a vulnerability exploited, you patch it so it doesn't become an issue. Encryption is another one of the policies that we have for our minimum security device requirements. And encryption is the process of converting readable data into unreadable format using mathematic algorithms and keys. So only someone with the correct decryption key can revert it back to its original form. So encryption is important because it protects sensitive information. Encryption safeguards personal data, financial records, health information, and intellectual property from hackers and identity thieves. It also secures communication, so it ensures that emails, messages, and data transfers remain confidential. Even if intercepted, the concept is unreadable without the key. It also prevents data breaches. So even if attackers gain access to encrypted files or databases, they can't use the data without decryption keys. And they support regulatory compliance, laws like GDPR, HIPAA, and PCI DSS encryption to protect user data and legal penalties. It also maintains trust. So by us having encrypted email, you trust that the emails that you're sending won't get in the hands of a bad actor. So businesses that encrypt data show customers they take privacy seriously, which builds trust and credibility. Antivirus and EDR software is another policy that we have. So antivirus software are designed to detect, prevent, and remove malicious software from computers and other devices, where an endpoint detection response is technology designed to monitor, detect, investigate, and respond to threats on endpoint devices like laptops, desktops, and servers. So EDR software is a little bit more sophisticated than AV software. And here at Weill Cornell, we have CrowdStrike, which is both an antivirus and an endpoint detection response. So antivirus is important because it detects known threats. So it uses signature-based detection to identify and block malware like viruses, worms, and Trojans. It also quarantines malicious files. It automatically isolates or deletes harmful files to prevent damage or spread. And AV has basic protections for all devices because it's often the first layer of defense, especially for personal computers and small businesses, because most computers come with built-in AV protection. Um, like I said before, EDR is a little bit more sophisticated and it continuously monitors endpoint activity and uses behavioral analysis to detect suspicious patterns, even if the threat has no known signatures. So it has real-time response, which can automatically contain threats by isolating infected devices, terminating malicious processes, and blocking network activity. It also has forensic capabilities. So it logs and analyzes endpoint behavior to help security teams investigate breaches, understand attack vectors, and improve defenses. It's effective against fileless malware, zero-day exploits, and advanced persistent threats that traditional antivirus often misses. So passwords. Here at Wall Cornell, we require passwords to be at least 16 characters. They have to be unique and different from passwords used for other services, and they must be changed at regularly scheduled time interval as defined in our policies or upon suspicion or confirmation of compromise. So we believe you to be compromised or we've confirmed that you've been compromised, you need to change your password. Passwords are important because they prevent unauthorized access, they protect sensitive information, they reduce the risk from data breaches, and they defend against common attacks. So, some common attacks that go after passwords are a brute force attack, which is a trial and error method used to crack passwords, encryption keys, or login credentials. And then credential stuffing is another type of attacks against passwords, which uses stolen credentials from one breach to access other accounts. So we only have 3 minutes left here, so I'll just go through the last policy we have here for minimum security requirements, which is firewalls. So host-based firewalls are installed on your computer to protect it individually, and it monitors traffic to and from your device. And built-in OS firewalls comes pre-installed with your operating system, and all built-in OS firewalls are host-based, but not all host-based firewalls are built in. So built-in OS firewalls are important because of device level security. So unlike network firewalls that protect the entire network, host-based firewalls secure the specific device they're installed on. They also offer granular control and they allow fine-tuned rules for specific applications, ports, and protocols. They protect across networks host-based firewalls. So they maintain consistent protection even when a device moves between networks, and they defend against internal threats. They help detect and block malicious activity originating from within the network, such as compromised devices or insider threats. And last but not least, enhanced monitoring. These firewalls log and analyze traffic specific to the host, making it easier to detect anomalies and respond to threats. So I only had one more slide about different cases in the news where some device compliance elements were used by bad actors in order to access systems. But since we only have 2 minutes left, I do want to get to any questions that people have. I see the chat has quite a few points.
There was a question that just came in about whether we're allowed to put CrowdStrike on non-tagged devices. I know Christine's also on. Um, let me.
I believe the answer to that is no, but I can double check on that. I think it depends about whether or not the machine is managed by Wall Cornell. So yes, if it has a tag number, we definitely can. I don't know if we can put CrowdStrike on personal non-Wall Cornell managed devices. I would need to double check on that, but I will double check on that. All right. If there's no other questions, though, I will send out the slides after this Tech Tuesday. And in the slides, I have some final reminders and also all of the different references that I went through to help pull some of the images and examples that I had in this presentation. And I'll also give you a background on some of the things that I talked to, but maybe didn't dive into enough specifics on.
Thanks so much, Allie, and also for Christine from our IT security team who answered some questions in the chat. Again, I'll be following up with an email about with a link to this recording as well as some other helpful links that you may want to go to, including our own cybersecurity page, as well as a quiz about if you like the is this real or AI? We have another quiz that we sent out earlier this month that has some tips on how you can better discern whether something is real or AI. Definitely we'll send that out in the email as well, so you could take a look at that. But thank you all so much for joining again, Allie. Thank you for giving us all these really helpful tips. And everybody stay safe out there. People are crazy with this ishing stuff. So just make sure you're protecting your data. Have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, everyone.